Well, friends, this has been fun for us. Final session here. This session, we're just going to answer the questions that were submitted before the weekend even happened, and then maybe some that have come in through Instagram. Before we jump into this piece right here, I would just say you're picking up on some keys through the first two sessions on intentionality and working really, really hard at it. And it's just like in marriage as well, like you either work really hard at it or it's really hard to enjoy it. Either way, you're going to work really, really hard. But if you don't put the effort into your marriage, you're going to pay the price for not putting the work into your marriage, right? And so the same is true for parenting. The stuff that we're talking about, like it takes a lot of work to do it, but it's a lot easier than the work of parenting when you didn't do it on the front end. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, because I think I just confused me on it. But anyway, I think that you're tracking with it. But, you know, if you're, Adam and I were talking about this between the sessions, is that for younger parents, and maybe you just have one child right now and the little baby, it is still difficult and it's hard, but it's near impossible for you to think in terms of the baby with an attitude. You know, or talking about, you're like, well, bless their hearts, all those families, but my child is an angel. Well, they do start off as angels, and then there's this transformation that takes place. But in all reality, like every season can be beautiful. It's true for your marriage. It's true for parenting. It's about your perspective and the amount of investment and intentionality that you put into it. So if you're in a blessed season right now, you don't need to hear this and walk away from it going, oh, brace yourself. It sounds like it just becomes horrible. No, you can have a blessed marriage. You can have blessed children, but you just got to work at it. And don't be surprised when humanity happens, and when you're raising the child and they are developing their own voice or their own opinions and mindsets and attitudes, it can be a beautiful process. So I thought, as Casey was mentioning some of the details of the culture of the home, whistle aside, or maybe let's just leave the whistle in there. We'll just say even including the whistle. There are things that you could look at and you could think, family meeting, or family worship time, or, the way she gave that example of talking to a child. I would say this: we're not trying to portray that we're parenting experts. We're not trying to portray that our family is perfect. What we are trying to say is we've been very intentional about a lot of little things, and it's created the culture that we today have, and that we're enjoying, and that we're thankful to the Lord for. We didn't just land at that place. Every family has a culture. It's either happening to you or you are leading it. Make sense? So either allowing it or you're leading it.
And also to not feel overwhelmed, because you have your situation will be different than ours in some things, but there are some principles that work. One of you wrote in before the conference and even asked, how do you know what to implement and what not to implement, because there's so much content out there, especially if you're watching all these parenting, reels and podcasts, and you're listening to these books, and all of that kind of stuff. I would just say to keep it simple. Keep it simple when you're buying things for your kids. Keep it simple when you're parenting and discipling the heart. Keep it simple when you're planning your Christmas plans. Keep it simple on your vacation. Like, whatever it is, try not to keep up with the Joneses, as it used to, would say. Just keep it simple and God, what do you have for our family? What do you have for this child? And then if there is room for more, there is room for expanding on that, then great. But you don't have to buy everything, do everything, be us, and have this many kids and homeschool you don't have to be like anyone else that you might be watching as well. Ask the Lord what's best for you and your calling and your situation, your finances, your special needs, whatever your family has, and He will tell you what is needed for your family. Our heart is just to say, to not let it don't just let life and family happen to you. Lead it. Choose things, make decisions, narrow it down. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to live. And then do your best to implement it, knowing what Scotty's saying. It won't be perfect, but it was better than not trying at all. And we're reaping what we've sowed in so many areas. And sometimes we are seeing things that are very difficult that we don't even know how it happened. And just know that's because there's spiritual attacks. There's free will. Like your children could face things that you did not teach them, but they do anyway, or they picked it up from somebody else, and that's not the culture of your home. No guilt or shame. Just make the next best decision and move forward at that point.
Really good. Ready to jump into
Yes,
Q&A?
let's do it.
All right, here we go, team. Let's do this. So first question we'll tackle is how and when to talk to your kids about sexuality. You want to kick it off on how and when to talk to kids about sexuality? You want me to go first or you go
Yeah, I'll
first?
kick it off. I really actually enjoy this question because it's so big and it needs to be talked about. And one of my personal frustrations is when things aren't talked about. And so I think we have to have this conversation. We have to have dialogue about it as parents. I would say the conversation about sexuality starts when they are 3 and 4, and then it builds. Because it's not a one and done conversation. Oh my goodness, your child just hit puberty, he's 13, let's talk. Yeah, don't do that. Like that, it should be an ongoing. This is a mindset and an understanding of who God is, what their body is like, what their future will be like with marriage or their friends, the content. Like this is an ongoing conversation. So Jordan's here and he's 11. We've had ongoing conversations with him, so where it's not all of a sudden he's got to know something. He's 11 and he's hearing us talk right now because we've talked about this. It's not just the one conversation about how our baby's made. Yes, I would not tell your 4-year-old that. I would not have that conversation until that child is ready, usually around the age of 9, 10, 11. One of our kids, you remember Allison?
I remember Allison.
As soon as
She's our 3rd child, right?
No, she's our 4th child.
5th child?
As soon as we told her, she called and told her cousin. So then I got a phone call from my brother that was like, hey, I think Allison just told, yeah. So
I do remember that.
And all of our kids respond differently to like that talk of like how children are made, everything from like, thank you, that was very informative, I appreciate that. That would have been Candace. And then we had, the next child was like, how beautiful and lovely God has made us, thank you. And then Bria was like, I will never do anything like that ever. Like that was literally her response. So you kind of go down the list of how they all responded. Angel, I think, said, why are you telling me this? Like, very like black and white logic. I was like, well, because she's like, I'm not even near that stage. Like, talk to me later about all that. It's just funny how they respond. And Jordan's just a good man. He's like, okay, got it. Yeah, sounds good. Sounds like the way God made it. I'm on board with it. So it's just neat to see that. But it's also because the conversation starts when they're little. Now, what do I mean by that? It means that when they're 3 and 4, now this is a little more detailed, but you're saying, aren't our bodies beautiful? Your brother's made different than your sister. Hey, mommy needs privacy. Shut the door when you use the restroom. Hey, why don't we cover up while we walk from the bathroom to the bedroom? Not because we're shameful, not because it's, we can't all just enjoy our free bodies. And, and of course they're little, they run around in their undies or, without any clothes on. Like, not shaming that. Let them be free, let them be little kids. But as they're growing, to saying our bodies are different than boys and girls are different. Isn't that interesting how God made that? Hey, help me change the baby's diaper. What's that? Well, that's a little boy. That's not what you had, to your daughter. And you're just talking about it. And then they get a little bit older, and then you're saying, well, you were probably going to kill over if I tell you all these things in public. But you start saying other things, and if you'd like to hear me know what those are afterwards, you could ask me. But I would say, like, to the little, he gets, we're on the same page. It's just, I would say I'm a little more free with it, and he's a little more quiet with
Appropriate?
No, it's appropriate.
The word that comes to mind? Appropriate?
Well, you're just telling your children...
Okay, so anyway.
How their bodies are, what their body
going.
parts are and what they do. And then you grow into the season of, so you're always talking about privacy. You're talking about your bodies are beautiful, your bodies are different. And then you get to that age where they're like 7, 8, 9. And you're telling, this is where the baby is born. Like, this is how the baby comes out of the, we're talking about those things naturally. So then when the talk comes that's even more so, it's an ongoing thing. And that would be one of our thoughts that has just worked really well. And again, having an ongoing follow up with it. It's not here's a book, I told you, see you, in 5 years, we'll talk about it again before your wedding. Like, you don't want to be that person. Like, later on you follow up, hey, we had that talk a couple weeks ago. What are your questions on that? Have your friends talked to you about that kind of stuff? Have you ever heard anything, that you just asking, talking, beautiful. One day you will, or this is God's plan. Like you're just planting seeds of how to think and giving them a worldview.
Yeah, I think that really is true and so good. And I might just echo it by saying, just to make it as normal and natural as possible, knowing that it is a little bit uncomfortable or it is a little bit awkward. But I would say this ties in just to the overall bigger picture of your relationship with your child and the ability to talk freely, for there to be high trust, for there to be vulnerability, for there to be the ability to lean into difficult conversations. So rather than isolating all of those and putting them over in the box of when we have to and we tackle, just cultivating. So I would say the best you can talking about certain topics a stage before you would think that they really need to be talked about, if that makes sense. So you are constantly, like you were just saying it, like you're planting seeds. You're warming the conversation. You know, you're just like, so they're not just totally shocked and caught flat-footed. But I was thinking about that even in terms of like life development with Jordan. You know, like he and I might be taking out the trash together. Like, help me with this, buddy. I'm going to need your help. And just saying little things like, hey, next year, you'll be doing this by yourself. Like this would be your job. And you're just preparing him mentally. And there's just this understanding, okay, I'm learning this responsibility. So it's natural and it's throughout life. But then you incorporate that same kind of approach. If you are talking about puberty, you are talking about things that might be like, oh man, that's different, or I'm not prepared. But in our conversations, one of the things that and it is kind of fun having them in here, a little bit different, but that's, just a thought. But Jordan would be able to vouch for this, that he and I talk a lot about just saying, man, I'm so glad that we can talk to each other about everything. Because when I'm saying that to Jordan, I really mean that. I'm just saying to him, man, I'm so glad that there's no question that you could ever ask me that I'd be like, I can't believe that you just asked me that. Man, it means so much to me. But the reason I'm saying that to him is because I mean it, and I want him to know that's the kind of communication we have. You don't have to be embarrassed or ashamed to ask me any question. But that just starts early on, you know, you want to say something?
And it keeps going because I'm having conversations with my 18-year-old, my 20-year-old that it's still going. Like we're still talking about things because there's more exposure, there's more experience, there's more people that they're around. And so I'll say, hey, you want to talk about anything about, has something come up that you have a question about? And usually they do. And that's so good and healthy because it's not just the puberty talk. It's literally at 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and giving them the joy and the excitement of the way God made us to be so that they're not looking to fulfill that and act on that as a teenager. They just know from a young age that's for marriage, and it's amazing, and it's beautiful, and we celebrate it, and we don't escape it or run from it, but this is awesome, but that's not something we do with someone not our spouse. That's not something we do dating. That leads into like how, what do we do with boundaries in dating? And that's a whole nother question, but.
Yeah, and just continuing on that thought is trying to stay a step ahead. So having conversations to say, hey, I know right now this may not make sense, but there will come a time where you're tempted to. Or there will come a time when you have feelings like this. And that's normal. But I want you to know because how you handle that. So you're just having those conversations ahead of time so that it's easier for them to understand or accept or to communicate about when it does hit. So one last quick thought on this one, we'll go to the next question, would be in a setting like this, you could hear teaching and you could think, bummer. I wish that we had started that 5 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago. You can't do anything about the past, but you can begin leading the best you can from this place forward. And it's okay to have a conversation of, you know what, this may have been something that you've already heard a little bit about, or hey, this may be something that you've wondered about, or you know what, I should have had this conversation earlier, and I'm sorry that we didn't. But you know what I thought is I love you enough, I care about you enough to where this might be a little awkward. I just love you too much to not have this conversation. So just don't allow any just like shame or regret over what you didn't do keep you from parenting and leading the way you can from this point forward. Sound good? All right, let's have another one. And how about we bring them up for some of these questions right here? So give it up for Candace Marie Gibbons and Jordan Scott.
Hey, Jordan, you can come.
I think I'll sit right here.
So they are 11 years apart and obviously two different genders. We thought it'd be kind of fun to have the oldest and the youngest and a boy and a girl come join us.
Or as Jordan said on the road trip here, we're bringing up Alpha and Omega. That's what he said. And so
say hi to everybody?
This question, what does he want to say hi?
Hello.
All right. So this question is something that, let me acknowledge this, having 5 girls and 1 son. Some of the stuff that we're sharing can cause some of you to think, wow, well, that's so cute. It sounds like y'all just have a Little Women, type of a home, Anne of Green Gables.
They have 4 boys.
In the Gibbons house,
this couple right
something
here
like
has
that.
4 boys.
And so when you think of 4 boys or something like that, you're like, man, in our house, it's like smash down, beat down, jumping off the top rope, all that. Hey, that's real talk, and that's truth. So we're not pretending that there are not different dynamics.
And you were the oldest of 4 boys. So he came from a 4-boy, 1-girl family.
I know, it's just a sick joke. It's just weird how God did that. I do not understand.
I came from a 1-brother family. So I think we just kind of have like a little bit of a, I had the more regimented one, boy and girl, this kind of lifestyle. He had the wide open, 5 kids, 4 brothers. He's the oldest. They're jumping off the roof of houses onto trampolines into the swimming pool. Oops, somebody broke something. Oops, like that life. So 2 different worlds right here,
yes.
But we're trying to.
And so far, none of our children have jumped off of the house onto a trampoline, although I'm like, it was fun. It was cool. None have tried that. But what I don't want you to dismiss, what I don't want you to miss, is that part of what we're talking about as we're about to tackle like their relationships is whether it's all boys, some girls, the majority being girls or whatever, you have to work very, very hard to cultivate healthy relationships between your children. And it has not just been like, I don't know, they just all like each other. Nope, it has not been like that, not even remotely. But we've worked very, very diligently to say in our house, this is the way we will view one another and the way we will honor one another and treat one another. So the question that we get is, what do you do to build great relationships for them as siblings, or even handling relationships, and kind of combining a few questions here, even with their friendships, but like what do you do to intentionally try and cultivate, that kind of getting along and enjoying each other's friendship and personalities. So, what are you saying?
I can speak
You
to
want to
that.
jump
Yeah,
into
sure.
it? Go ahead, Candace.
Yeah. There was just a culture in the home that we don't argue or fight. And I know that sounds like, whoa, you guys always got along? No, we didn't always get along. But when people ask, did you fight with your sisters growing up? We really didn't. And I think that was just a culture you guys created of, we never said, oh, you're ugly, oh, you're mean, or like stupid wasn't even a word we said in our family. And that was just a culture that was created. Of course, friends would come over and fight all the time, with their sister. But that was something you never allowed in the house. So the way we tackled conflict was always coming together. So I remember one thing you did, and this is funny looking back, is if you didn't get along with a sibling, she would take a string and tie our arms, and we had to walk around with that sibling the rest of the day to get to like them. And that was something that just felt like.
Did she ever break a spoon on you?
Not me, personally,
Okay.
no. But it was always you come together. There are no slam doors. There are no, yelling or shouting. Even the level of volume in the house was something very regulated. So that it was just never a culture of we're going to fight or argue. And if you have a problem with a sibling, you go to them. And there were usually 3 levels. The first would be if you have a problem, you go to that person. If they don't listen, you take a sister or take a sibling. And then if that doesn't work, you take the parent. But that way we're not going to mom and dad for every little thing, every little conflict, or, Yeah. So like, not every little toy or, oh, they ate my dessert. It was, I'm going to go to that person. If they don't listen, I'm going to take a sibling, and if they don't, then I'll go to mom and dad. That takes away from you guys.
That's really
everything, too.
good. And I would say, man, we're giving you sound bites right now. But there was a lot of parenting that went into that. But as Casey mentioned, I came from a dynamic to where for me and my brother growing up, who was close to me in age, it wasn't a matter of did you fight. It was a matter of we never stopped fighting. Like it was one continual fight. And so, like when Candace is talking about we just don't do that, I mean, it was just different in my thinking, but we just determined, hey, it's not that there won't be issues, just how we go about it is just going to be different. And so I would say one of the things when it comes to discipline that we've determined is we're going to address an attitude, not necessarily the action. So we're addressing an attitude. If you get the attitude right, the action will follow. So if we just say, stop slamming that door, don't slam that door again or you're in trouble. It's like, man, there's something much deeper going on than the slamming of the door. And if we don't speak to that, they may obey I'm not slamming a door, but they're still slamming something. And they're still lashing out. There's still something. So we worked really hard just to trace it back and just say, why are you feeling that? Or let's talk about what you're feeling. What's a better way to process that? Like, how are you going to be able to, and you can jump in, Casey, if you want to, because I don't want to dominate this, but I think it's just really, really important because you could hear what she's saying and go, oh, isn't that nice? No, that's a lot of work. So we're addressing an attitude, not just an action. And it means I cannot parent out of emotion, which is where a lot of parenting comes from. That's it. If you do that one more time, just bark, 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 bark. And it's like, why aren't they getting it? I don't know. And I'm so frustrated. I'm so mad. So I've got to make sure that I'm not parenting out of frustration. And I have to make sure that I'm not trying to parent them while they're caught up in emotion. Because you're trying to address something and why did you do that? Like Casey said last session, they don't know why they did it. So we've got to just back up and go, look, I need to let them process. Hey, why don't you just take a minute, kind of gather yourself. Hey, why don't you give me just a minute? Like, we're going to talk about this, but I probably need to talk to Jesus before I talk to you. And that works in marriage. It works in parenting. So don't parent out of emotion or frustration. Do your best to not parent them and meet them when they're in that moment just of frustration. So those are just practical things that were coming to my mind as you're.
Yeah, the encouraging part is that when they learn patterns of thinking and behaviors, they will just become that person. So this is an open story as far as like I'm not proud of this moment. Maybe I think it was last week or so. One of our daughters prefers for me not to open all the doors and windows when we wake up. I like to air the house out. To me, that's normal. You wake up, you open everything, you breathe, you clean it out. Well, she has some allergies. She's not big on that, but I waited till 10 a.m. because I thought, she's up, she's going, she's talking, when she came out, she was bothered with it. She expressed that. My not so proud moment was I just took a minute to tell her what I really thought about that and how ridiculous that it was and how everyone has allergies and this is my house and you know what, I'm tired of catering to you and you and you, and I had a little moment that I wasn't following the Lord as much as I should have, and that's fewer than it used to be. I will say, like, I'm thankful that moment is more of I would say few months, whereas early on that was me every day, and that's why I'm telling you I'm redeemed and the Lord has helped me change. The beautiful thing that I'm saying is she could tell I was not at my best and I wasn't handling it the way that we would have as a culture, but because she knew how to think and how to process, she listened, she gave eye contact, she nodded. Now remember, I'm wrong in how I'm handling it, but she's going, yes ma'am, okay. And I said, what do you think about all that? And she said, I think that you may not be in a good place right now and that you might need some time to calm down. So maybe we could have this conversation later on. Now, was that not a beautiful reversal of roles and maturity? And she was right. But because we parent that way, when I had a weakness, when I had a sinful moment of just kind of going off on my own, and it's not bad to feel things. It's just the way I presented it, she knew was too much. They will learn how to help each other siblings. Breathe, talk, pray. And I did calm down, and then later we came together and I said, okay, thank you for helping in that moment. So you don't mirror the person. And it's beautiful when you have an 18-year-old teenager now not mirroring me, but now she's like, how about you just take some time? I hear what you're saying. Maybe we could talk about this later. That's just a pattern of thinking.
Really good. Oh, you want to go ahead? I was going to ask him a question. Yeah, I was going to ask him that. Or you want to say something before I come up with a question?
Sure. The thing is that people come into life thinking that sibling rivalry is natural, when it's really not. It's common, but it's not natural. So you think if someone's getting on your nerves in your family, you tell them to shut up. No, you tell them. You tell them what you're feeling without being selfish. You tell them what you're needing from them, and then you listen for what they're needing from you.
Good word, man. That's so good, Jordan. Great truth. I know one of the things that we try and do is to teach you guys to serve one another too, right? And that's part of even what you were just saying right there. So way to go. Great word. I'm so proud of you. But could you talk for a minute, like and I know I'm putting you on the spot, so you didn't know I'm going to ask you this, but just like, what are ways that you're learning to like serve your sisters? Or what are some things that mom has said, hey, you ought to do this? And it creates that mindset of we serve one another. Like we might be frustrated with one another, but we can't be selfish. We have to serve one another. What are some of the ways that you've learned to serve your siblings?
Well, to serve one another, you can't see them as a sibling, or you can't see them as a human. You have to see them as your best friend. And if it was your best friend, you're helping them out. And the thing is, when you go to help them out, it's just like, okay, we're friends. I know this person would do this for me. I'm doing this for them. This is why we love each other. And that's how it is with siblings. It's when you need something from them, you could do it yourself maybe. And if it's something you can't do for yourself, somebody else can do it. But you want to be the one that is trusted to help someone out.
Good. That's good. How do you serve your sisters? Do you have an example or two that mom has taught you? Like, how do you serve a sister?
No, that's true. I do have one sister that if I ask her for like one thing, she's like, nope, get it yourself. And I'm like, all right, I wanted to enjoy the movie. I'm in the middle of the movie, but okay, I can go get my water bottle. But she would ask me about 4 times during the movie to get her a hair tie, to get her chapstick, to
That's
get
real
her
talk. That's
water
real
bottle.
talk
And
right
I'm like,
there.
you can get it yourself. I'm sitting down here with a blanket with a dog in my lap, and
Yeah.
she's over there in the kitchen
Say it.
on a step
Say it.
stool. And I'm like, okay, you can get it. You're right next to it. But the thing is, you can get it for them. And we can help her. Yes, that is another option. But you can get it yourself. Why not if you can? And if you have a selfish thing to say, like, get it yourself. It's just a water bottle. Then that applies to you too. It's just a water bottle. You can get it.
Yeah, that's good. And do you want to say anything on the serving part?
Yeah, even like that is real. And I wish all the kids were here because we could have a whole session of just letting them talk for us, like take us out of it. I think they would really actually bring a lot to the table of how it all goes down and what it looks like and how do we navigate it. But even hearing that, sometimes they'll help each other by, even at his age, will say, I'd be happy to help you. It's just that you're already standing there or this sibling is already closer. Do you think they could get it this time? It's not that they always give in and they're just like, because sometimes it's the sibling just being like, dominating, or they're being self-centered or like, well, I'm older, you should get it. Like that's not a mutual respect and communication. And I would love to hear Candace talk about how she's cultivated sibling relationships with younger ones because she's older. I think that just some ideas.
Sure, like in this stage of life. So I was about 12 years old, or almost turning 12, when Jordan was born, and so I realized there was a bit of an age gap there. And so when I was younger, it was easier to do things with my sisters because we were all growing up together. So we'd have the tea parties, we'd play outside, and then I realized I wanted that relationship with Jordan, and then Angel, who's also 15, so we're about 7.5 years apart. So we just started creating new traditions, and sometimes there are different seasons within siblings that you have to just say, okay, back in the day I used to be home and able to play with you outside, but Jordan and I like to go and get ice cream together, we go to the lake together, and those were things I had to be intentional about. Within my schedule, I will put on the calendar, okay, on Tuesday afternoon, I have an hour before class starts, I'm going to hang out with Jordan, and so just practically, I had to change even my mindset of I'm not home with him every day for lunch and we're able to read stories, or I'm not putting him down for nap time like I did with all 5 other siblings. But I can cultivate new traditions.
Very, very good. Before I go to the next question, I'll wrap this one by saying, so when you're hearing it and you're like, man, we're trying that, or I'm working really hard for our kids to get along, and this is the response that we're getting. It's just to not give up, to not grow weary, to not throw in the towel, but don't abandon the plan. You can be kind and sensitive to your children, but you're still in control. So you can still be the parent. I know there are exceptions, and we can't hit every exception with every point that we're making. But as a principle, as a rule, you can look at it and say, we're going to parent. We're going to lead the culture of our home. No, this is not negotiable. No, we're not taking votes. And you're planting seeds along the way on how they will see one another and how they will honor one another. So for Jordan, early on, being taught this is the way you will view and respect your sisters. So he is taught, open the door for your sisters. He is taught, pray for your sisters. Or if we're in our family prayer time together and we're asking them to pray for one another, like that's planting seeds, because it's very, very difficult to be praying a blessing over someone and talking to God on their behalf. Yet I'm ticked, I don't like you, I'm frustrated with you. Like you're just doing a spiritual work. And so we say to them, your feelings are valid. Your emotions are real. Your emotions can inform you. So Jordan, what are you feeling? I'm just mad at her for this. I'm upset with dad about that, or mom did this and it really upset me. So now what are you going to do with that? Like your emotions are real. They can inform you. They just can't drive you. So non-negotiable. I know that's what you feel, but no, you can't, because you're teaching them in life. You're going to feel a lot of stuff in life, but you go in and cuss your boss out, it's not going to go great. You go in and start screaming at your teachers, it's not going to go great. You have these feelings. I get it, and that's real. You're teaching them. Now, what do you do with that? Well, I guess my brother, I just punch him. No, let's come up with an alternative. Like, I know it's what you want to do. Does that make sense? So you're speaking to them about their feelings and their emotions and teaching them how to process it and handle it. Okay, good. Next question. Here we go. Next one. How do you choose an appropriate standard of entertainment? Maybe Casey, you could kick this one off and then others can pipe in, but talk maybe a little bit as a family how we've decided, like, here's how we're going to handle the area of entertainment. So I guess mainly movies, music, video game-ish type stuff.
Well, there's different seasons, obviously, in your children's lives. I would just say keep it as pure and simple in those early years as possible, because it's only going to grow. They're only going to have more exposure, and whatever is the calm, the simple, the beautiful, not the crazy, the animations, the personalities, the older kid shows. Oh, he's not scared, he can watch it. That's not the reason we don't watch it. It's not that he doesn't respond to it. It's just that content is not best for his mind and spirit at that age. Or she's, the older siblings are watching this, so what about the younger one? Like, we have to balance, like, okay, what's age appropriate for that? But we keep it as pure and as simple as young as possible, and then at those young ages. And then as they get older, like for us, just some basic thoughts is just anything that's like full on witchcraft is just not a thing in our home. Now obviously, like, oh, what about Chronicles of Narnia? There's some magic in there. It was like, yeah, but the redemptive power, the purpose is bringing to light, to point to Christ. So it's not that there's never, something that's like got, like we're talking about good and evil, not that it's all evil and a better evil wins over the other evil, but it's all evil. There's a difference in that versus redemption and those kind of things. But the entertainment, if it's violent, if it's full of profanity, like we've used, what's our pure Clear Play for some movies, where it can cut out scenes, it can cut out language. That's a program that you can use for some things. But as a rule, like the violence, the language, even attitudes and disrespect, like pretty much anything that's like those sitcom type shows with those kids, Nickelodeon, Disney, a lot of that stuff. We're busy and we're not always watching as parents, but those subliminal messages are being there, or very obvious messages are there. Attitude, disrespect, lying, hiding stuff from your parents. Like, we don't do those kind of shows. Also, it would be, well, let's see, I already said that. Witchcraft, let's see, language. There was one I'm missing. Yeah, I think part of it too is you have to know the show. You have to know what they're even, like, you need to help choose that, not just assume because it's a cartoon it's fine, or assume because you watched it when you were little that it's okay. Because I look back at some stuff, I'm like, that's terrible. Why did I watch that as a kid? Like, that's not the best thing. But being aware of it and being a gatekeeper, like your home is the hub and you're the gatekeeper. Like, don't let those things that are, the scripture says run from evil. The scripture says, to keep certain things out of our minds and our hearts, so we don't watch certain things. We don't listen to songs with those lyrics. We don't get those apps, or we don't play violent video games that are literally just about killing. There are other options that can have your child can have entertainment. We can watch movies. It's not like we're all watching Barney, all the time. But although that was a really good tool, if you want to have little kids with good manners, we watched a lot of Barney back in the day. The dinosaur. But they were like 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, you're teaching. That's like real life, and I would say that over animation is even good. Like, watching real kids do the right thing is good for little kids. Because they don't know what's happening in life, and you have that power and that influence to impart, this is the way we live. And then as they get older, like, hey, why not? Everybody else plays this. Everybody has it on their phone. Everybody is going to that movie. Well, here's why. Not to make God or the Bible look like a killjoy, but because you're saying we're all about things that are, bringing life and light. We're not about, like, killing for fun. Or we're not about language. Well, why? Because I don't want that in my mind, my own heart, because I might start saying that when I'm upset because I've just watched a movie with 14 words in it. That kind of thing. We're just telling them, like, the basics of why we're choosing what we're choosing. And I did want Candace to speak to it. Yeah. So Candace, could you share a little bit about your senior thesis and how you defended that when it came to entertainment as far as not aligning with your belief system?
And one quick thought on what you just said. I think that's so good bringing up the attitude part, because that was such a high thing where if a kid had an attitude in a show, it was like, turn it off. I remember once there was a movie that it took the Lord's name in vain, and we all, like, walked over to the trash can and threw it in. And it was such a moment in my mind of, like, oh, wow, like, this is a big deal. And so I think just establishing that at a young age, like, I remember being 4 or 5, and there were cartoons that all my friends were watching. Yeah, and the kid whined in it. And Mom was like, we don't whine in our family. We don't watch that show. So even little things like that. Like, it's not just, oh, they, murdered someone or something, but, like, the actual attitude things was a huge part. And then also on entertainment, being proactive in what you, like, give your kids ahead of time, because it can be like, oh no, we don't watch that, oh no, we don't watch it, but replacing it with the right things. So there was so much good entertainment in our home growing up that there wasn't room for, like, oh, there's this music. It's like, no, we're constantly listening to scriptures in music, so songs that we're singing Bible verses. So that was what's in my head. It's not just, oh, music is bad, oh, movies are bad. It's, we had the right entertainment growing up. And then one more quick thought, and I will get to the thesis. On pop culture like music or movies that are releasing, their friends are going to talk about it. So something Mom and Dad did was they'd almost introduce it to us before it became a big deal and said, hey, this movie just came out. Let's talk about this because your friends are going to be talking about it. Let's look at this movie review of it. So it was never some hidden thing that we didn't talk about, or like, oh yeah, we just don't like that and we don't know why. You talked about it ahead of time, so sometimes I'd be the first to know about some movie that was coming out, and my friends would be like, oh yeah, we think we should go see it. I'm like, actually, here's some reasons why we might not want to see it, because you guys were proactive with telling us things about it. But yeah, when I was a senior in high school, I did a senior thesis in school, and I did it on the spiritual effects of how entertainment is affected and tied to our spirituality. So I studied a lot of patterns in the brain in relation to music and movies, and just so much of what we take in whether it's through a book or music or movies, is tied to our spirituality. A lot of people turn off their moral compass through entertainment because they think it's just entertainment when it's really not. And you can think, oh, I'm watching a movie, it's not affecting me. But it is, yeah, and even through apps. So it just became a conviction for me as I studied more of the science behind it. It wasn't just, oh, I grew up in a family that did this, but I studied and took real questions that my friends were asking and then just looked into what actually happens in the brain with it. And now I'm just more convinced than ever that it is important. And so I like to talk about it with my friends too, of like, this is more than just a Christian thing. This is like whatever you're putting in your mind, whether through music or media or even social media, who you're following. It's not just, oh, all social media is bad. It's pick the right things. Be proactive about who you're following, what music you're listening to, because even genre-wise, like it has the power to affect your emotions and things. Oh, I don't know why I'm sad all the time. I don't know why I'm depressed. Well, let's look at your playlist. Like, what are you listening to? And so much of that is just tied. So that's even just something we talk about in the home a lot.
When she defended her thesis, so that would have been like in a community setting for our homeschool classical like co-op, but there was a panel of judges, and one of the judges really pressed Candace and was like, so are you saying I shouldn't go to such and such of a concert? And she said, well, that depends on what kind of leadership you're giving your children, because he was taking his daughters to a certain type of concert, and he threw his pen up, he goes, wow, he's like, that's just, you're so right, and I think he ended up not taking them. He said, she goes, well, it depends on what kind of leader or father you want to be. She's like, well, return your tickets. It's not, like change your mind. Like there are times that it's not heavy. It's just like to offer something else. What else could we do than just the standard, the norm of what every other kid is doing? There was also another judge on the table that asked Candace, said, so Candace went off to Oxford. She's actually at Harvard now doing grad classes with Harvard for reporting and journalism. But one of the judges said, what are you going to do when you're faced with all of these morals that you're talking about in the real world, the secular world? And I'll never forget your response. And as parents, we're watching going, okay, this is our first kid, like we've tried to lead the way. And she's there at the mic, she's standing there for an hour defending everything, they're pushing, they're pressing. And she said, oh, I'm looking forward to it. And she's like, next question. It's like, why? Because conviction of the child has been put where I can't control what she's exposed to at Harvard, at Oxford. I can't make her stand up for Christ in those settings. I can't tell her, don't watch this, don't go there, don't put this app. Like you're graduating high school, and we do stay really close to our children. Side note, 18, 19, 20, 21, really close. I know a lot of the culture would say they're 18, I have no say. Like you have a lot of say, and they really need you, and you need to stay close because they are now the little fish in a big pond, and they need help with all kinds of things. But as they are aging and having more freedom, the conviction that we teach our children is more important than simply the control that we have. So now I'm teaching her how to have personal convictions. What is the Holy Spirit saying? And it's not perfect. We have seen two of our girls have maybe shared something on social media that at times I'm like, dear Jesus. But we still have conversations about that, even though 20 years old, 18 years old. But that conviction has carried you, Candace, and you want to speak more on it, but out into the real world of entertainment choices. It's not intimidating. She doesn't feel like, I'm homeschooled, I've never seen anything. She has this confidence to say, I'm looking forward to it. Not a problem. I know who I am in Christ. I know what works and doesn't work, and entertainment choices is not a weakness.
Yeah. So on that one, I'd wrap up by saying that you want to be aware and involved so that you can influence. So be careful about passive parenting. Be careful about, I assume that it's okay. So you want to be very, very careful to be dialed in to the music that they're listening to the shows that they're watching, to the apps that they have. We can talk about that one on the next question here as we get ready to hit that last one. But you can't lead something that you're unaware of. You can't influence something that you're detached from. So be dialed in. It's not a matter of, well, she's 13 and she's like, that's my music. It's like, no, you can be kind, but you're still in control as a parent. So it's like, no, I love you. I care about you. And I'm cultivating through all the other life conversations the fact that, no, that's not how we flow. I care about you. I want to know what you're listening to. And no, we're not going to listen to that. That's not going to be best for you. And it's not up for debate. Like we're telling you. So anyway, I know that can raise some questions, and we're glad to maybe answer some of those here at the end. All right, let's hit this last question by way of what was submitted, and it has to do with the area of technology, or what age should they get phones, or what age should they be able to have social media, or these different pieces like that. And then time permitting, when we get done with that, we can do a little bit of Q&A for anything that's following up on what we needed here. So you want to hit that one, Casey? How to handle technology, phones, social media?
Sure. It's not a one and done for every child, so you do have to take into consideration like the age of the child, the personality of the child, the responsibility of the child, the spirituality of the child. There's a lot of factors that go into it. But as a rule, we would say less is best on screen time, and it's not just, we're not constantly handing our child a screen just to pacify them, because again, we're parenting. So yes, it's difficult to go shopping and you have small children, but you're parenting. That's where they're learning character. That's where they're learning how to focus, how to be engaged. I mean, I used to take 4 or 5 little girls to the store before we had like grocery delivery. It was a lot, you know. I had a baby, a toddler, preschoolers, but I'm teaching. And we did use preschool. I would say like we, keep the baby. We use preschool at 3, 4, 5 for a couple of the kids, but at certain points we couldn't afford preschool for 4 little girls, and I already had a baby anyway, so I may as well be parenting because I still have to have, but taking them along on those things is very helpful, but especially after that preschool age, that 6 to 12-year-old, establishing those boundaries and those brain waves of just not always having a screen. And I know there's a lot of debate and a lot of conversation out there in the UK and as well as in America about pulling the screens. In Oklahoma, we now have a screen-free public school, or phone-free public school. So phones are not allowed in our public schools, which has been a fantastic change that they've implemented this year. So kids are not on their phones at school, period. So I would say less is best because they're going to get it a lot of other ways. Getting an actual phone, we would take all those other factors into consideration, but it's not something that would be a full-on smartphone, full access. You're 13, you get a phone. But at that 12, 13, 7th grade, 8th grade, where they're having to be by themselves, or they're needing to communicate, or they're needing, they want to take pictures, or they want to have music, or have their own alarm clock. Okay, it's now time for you to have a phone. No internet access, no social media. And the reason is because we want them to have the freedom to call or to take pictures or, that kind of a thing. But apps are approved by us, so there's no app loading without our approval, so it pops up on our phone. Jordan would like to have, he doesn't have a phone yet, but at that time it'll be like that child would have, okay, these are the apps, and then we always have full access to their phones. Once they're at that, like I want to see how much screen time. We're shutting our phones down at 9 p.m. You can be on your phone at 9 a.m., but for us, I'd say you can't be on your phone to talk to a friend until after your schoolwork is done at lunchtime. You can answer that message. Write down those things because they will forget. You may even have them sign it and be like, do you understand the boundaries of this phone? In black and white writing, will you sign this contract? Because it will turn into like, oh yeah, I forgot. So I stayed up till 2 in the morning and texted my friend. You're like, did you remember? I forgot. Like, those things will come. And having time frames, having limited on when certain things are added. So when do we add social media? Or what do we have? Like Jordan he does film and commercial work. He has a work page. The beautiful thing about parenting when you're close to your child is his Instagram, social media page or whatever, even introducing him to YouTube or Instagram, we're doing this together. I'm like, hey, I'm about to share this, or is there something you would like on your work page for these reasons? But I'm also showing him, see that search symbol? If you push search, anything can pop up on that. And it will take you down all kinds of roads, or pop-ups will come on YouTube. So even though he doesn't have a phone, we're doing it together. We're teaching, we're talking. It's an ongoing conversation. We're easing him into it. And again, in the early years, you find time for this is now when you play on your screen. This is now when you watch your movie. This is when you can have screen time. It's not just hand it. In the car is a great time for memorization of scripture, fun music, good conversations, teaching them to be content. Yes, we have ADHD. We have 2 ADHD children. We have an OCD child. We have a child with a communication issue. We have children with yes, they have behaviors and issues. But you still don't have to just quiet them with the screen to where that's just a pacifier. It's like we're parenting, we're not pacifying. We're developing them. We're not having them just to follow our rules. But yeah, they can have it at the right time. Yes, I'm going to teach him social media. Social media would, for our children, we have, let them have, that would be their senior year, that 17, 18-year-old mark would be where we're allowing them, like Allison is a senior this year, she got Instagram this year, but we're having conversations about it. What's surprising you about Instagram? Well, I didn't realize that, or what have you seen? Let's process that. Let's talk through YouTube. Angel wants her YouTube channel. Angel has a organizational business called Touch by an Angel, so she does cleans out closets and pantries, and she does it for our neighborhood, and she does house sitting. So she started her own company. So she wants to put some fun stuff on her YouTube channel. Well, we're doing it together. It's not through her phone. Everything has to be approved through me or her sister. It's through the laptop. No TVs in the bedrooms. If we're on YouTube, it's on the main screen in the main room. This is not private YouTube sessions going on for these, teenagers. And also, you can watch, for Jordan, he's like, can I watch YouTube? Yes, you can watch it in the living room. You can pick any subscription that we've already subscribed to. Just pick those. Does it lead to other things?
Yes, no, and maybe.
Or do you would have Hey, why don't you speak into this a little bit about some of these things, how that's impacted you, or what do you think about all that?
I think for phone access, social media access, YouTube access, it's not a matter of, okay, the mature, I think I trust them at this age. Because if they're mature now, that doesn't mean that this won't affect them. That doesn't mean that this won't hinder their way.
That's really good. And you want to have a child that has a spirit to follow those things. And if they don't, that's just another conversation. But those are just some practical ways about when they have a phone, guarding technology, walking them through it, introducing them to things that they're going to use. So right now we're having a lot of ChatGPT conversations. We're having a lot of AI conversations about what is truth, how do we discern truth, how do we handle AI, what do we think about AI, what do we share with or without AI. So again, you're not, like what Candace said, we're talking about it. It's not like guard. It's what are we going to do with this? We're going to talk about it. And if you don't know the answers, I don't know all these answers. I don't have AI fully understood in my mind, but I am still trying to lead it. So I just research it. I listen to things on it, we talk about it, and then we set boundaries, and then we come back, talk about it again, and that would be the same for social media technology.
I think I would add that when we're talking to our children, we're explaining to them not just the dangers, but the fact that it is a matter of when, not if. There are things that they would see, or that they would be exposed to, or what they would hear about, so even if you did not intend to, or you're like, man, I clicked on something I should not have. One of the little sayings that we would use is run to me, not from me. That's going to happen at some point. A friend that you know from wherever is going to say something. You're going to be like, what does that mean? Or they were talking about this. Just run to us, not from us. You don't have to carry that on your own. So we work really hard to cultivate that in their hearts. I'll tell a quick story about Jordan because he's just the man. He's so awesome at this. But early on, he would hear us say, run to us, not from us. If it happens, just come to somebody who loves you and can help you. Don't try and hide it. The enemy would love for you to try and take care of that on your own. Don't do that. It gets worse. Just bring it out to the open and know that we can help you. So we had just gotten our very first Apple TV. And so Jordan was so excited, that Apple TV and that Apple remote. I was like, don't walk around the house with that remote. You'll lose it. Anybody else have a hard time keeping up with the remotes around your house? I'm like, do not lose this remote. And don't walk around because you're going to break it, drop it, shatter it. Just don't do it. And so I think it was the first day, but it was pretty early on in having it. He did take it with him on a little walk and walked outside, and it just had forgotten. And so I was wherever I was. I believe I was in the bedroom, and he came in, and he started the conversation this way. He said, Dad, I needed to tell you something. I said, sure. He said, remember, you said, run to you, not from you. I thought, oh, dear Jesus, here it comes right here. You know, when they start a conversation like that, I was like, I did. That's what I said. I sure did. I said that. And he said, well, I know I wasn't supposed to be walking around with the Apple remote. I walked outside, I dropped it, and it cracked. And I was like, awesome. But in that moment, as a parent, something going on there was so much bigger than an Apple remote. You tracking with me? Like, this is something I'd worked really hard at instilling in his heart. So now in this moment, you can lose it. You can be frustrated. I told you to not do that, and now when we just bought that. Or I can throw gasoline on something I'm really valuing and wanting to be just in his heart, and that is, I'm celebrating the fact that you came. This was a win. This was I am so proud of you, but hopefully that's what you felt in that moment. But I was just like, man, a lot of people would have wanted to. Some kids would have rather, but you came to me. I am so proud of you. And if we'll do that, the when, not if, they bump into stuff with entertainment or on apps or social media or whatever it would be, they're just knowing, I'm preparing you for that. Run to us, not from us. So
I would say one thing that even happened this week, and the point I would make is just as we were feeling dramatic as parents, I would speak to that again. Scotty's a little more calm in nature, but the more we practice patterns of being under control and having patience, I promise you, you'll get better at it. And it becomes more natural. It becomes who you are. So I would just encourage you, if you are loud and dramatic and everything's a big deal, to just take it down some notches. Like, just relax a little bit, because they will be afraid to come to us. So this week, Jordan shattered a lamp that I had. That was my fault for kind of location. I put it on a space heater, and then he rolled the space heater. It fell off. It shattered. But his response not only was that he owned it and just said, hey, I've shattered this, and we were trying to get out the door and all that, but his bent was, how can I help, and I'm so sorry. But my bent early on would have been like, and I heard it shatter, and then I'm thinking it was a lamp given to us because of something Scotty had done to help, like, youth initiative, and so it was like it meant a lot, and I enjoyed that lamp. Now it's broken, it's irreparable. Like, when that moment though was, I felt thankful that I didn't respond like I used to. So you can make progress, because I didn't gasp, I didn't be like, oh my goodness, that meant so blah, blah, blah. It was just like, thank you for telling me. Yes, I do need your help because we are going to be late. Would you please get the broom, come back? And he came back. I've got gloves too. Okay, we got a lot of glass to clean up, and it's right in our bathroom. So every little tiny piece, we're feeling like they're going to be in our feet the next week. But I was like, now go get the mop or get the broom, or, the vacuum. Go get the trash bag. So even teaching your kids, like, okay, you came to me. Now how do we make it right? And then we're also learning as parents to just, the bigger win is what Scotty was saying. Like, don't miss the moment of what's really going on. Is he's learning how to communicate a failed moment, and he's like, how can I help? I'm so sorry, I did this. And that's the bigger win, more than this lamp.
We have covered a lot of content. Hopefully there's been a thing or two that the Holy Spirit's whispering to your heart. Would you stand to your feet as we get ready to wrap up? I know that I mentioned that we might take I know that we were going to try and have some Q&A, but we are now at the end of our time. But what you could do is hit us up on social media. If you're like, hey, I want to ask for some clarification about this or that, we'll do our best. Sometimes it's hard to keep up with correspondence via social media, but we will do our best. But I wanted a chance, just as we get ready to close, I want to pray over you. I again just want to say, fantastic job for carving out time to come and just say, Lord, make me better and more effective as a parent. Way to go on that. I know that just because you attended last night and today, it has not changed anything about your circumstance back home or your strong-willed child or some of the behavioral issues that were there. Like, man, life is still happening. But hopefully there's a thought or two. There's an idea or two that you might just say, let's just take a swing at this. And sometimes it's one step forward, 2 steps back. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward and 1 step back. But God has called you to do this. He has equipped you with everything that you need to be the parent that He's called you to be. You can do this. Children are a gift from God. Everybody say that with me. Children are a gift from God. Even when, bum, 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 children are a gift from God. Your greatest kingdom contribution will not be some act that you do in a church setting or in your workplace. It will be the children that you raise up in His name and for His glory. Build the family, build the church. Build the church, you're building the kingdom of God. God can use you. He will use you. Continue to look to Him. Continue to put your hope and your trust in Him. Ask Him for His help. When you miss the mark as a parent, look at your child in the eyes and say, I'm sorry. I missed it on that. Would you please forgive me? I'm not going to bat 1,000, but I love you. I care about you. I'm doing my very, very best. And together you can just continue to take steps towards Jesus and who He wants you to be as a family. I just want to read this declaration to you, and then I'm going to pray. But I would ask you to repeat this after me. And if you would, just close your eyes and imagine yourself in the presence of the Lord right now. This is the declaration. And then we're going to pray, but just as parents, we're just surrendering to the Lord right now. This role as parents, taking care of these children, we need the Lord's help. And I just want you to say this out loud. Say, God has chosen me to raise these children. Come on, I want to say it again. I want you to say it like you actually mean it this time. God has chosen me to raise these children. I have what I need to train them. I can raise them up in the ways of the Lord. I can be the parent God wants me to be. Come on, say it like you mean it. God has a plan for my children and my family. I declare that no weapon formed against us will prosper. My children will love God. My children will serve God. They will fulfill His purpose for their lives. Lord, in Jesus' name, we believe this today. We declare those things and we ask for the help of heaven. I pray that you would fill us with your Holy Spirit. I pray that you would empower us, Lord, to lead, to parent, to love the way that you want us to. And God, that we would see miracles happen. We would see supernatural things happen that are beyond the natural ability of just a parent training a child. But instead, we would see, Lord, miracles take place. Healings mentally, emotionally, physically, body, souls, and mind. Breakthroughs of trust. Breakthroughs with communication. Breakthroughs, Lord, for beautiful fruit from a lot of hard work of sowing seed. I pray for that. I believe for that. I pray, Lord, in Jesus' mighty name, that as a result of us just being surrendered as parents, Lord, that we truly will genuinely see our children walking in truth and righteousness and holiness and carrying out your plan for their lives. We pray all of these things in the matchless and wonderful name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And everybody said, amen. We're going to turn it over to Pastor Peter. Thanks again for allowing us to be here. I hope some of it encouraged you along the way. God bless you guys.